You who so plod amid serious things that you feel it shame to give yourself up for even a few short moments to mirth and joyousness in the land of fancy. You who think that life hath naught to do with innocent laughter that can harm no one. These pages are not for you. This is a game review, and it's gonna get kind of dark, kind of intense. Suicide. Human misery. This video is half review, half love letter. It's gonna get a little intimate, but I refuse to be anything but genuine. Disclaimer given. When I was 9, I dreamed of my demise. I was ill-equipped for my developing brain to high dive into the ocean of awareness of the world that I lived in. It was cold and salty, endlessly deep beneath my feet. I didn't know how to tread water, let alone swim. Though I have no direct evidence for it, I feel in my bones that Paleolithic Homo sapien society found solace in the stars, staring into fire, listening to elders about the world, something funny, the spirits, ancestors, the sun. I've been telling stories since I was 8. To Ecuadorian kids, I guided through a chessboard dungeon crawl where they negotiated with a troll to help them haul up loot that they found because they thought that their donkey was tired. During college, my summer job was to LARP with kids, and we would throw beanbags as magic spells, and I would die dramatically to one of their foam swords. Even now, I prescribe my friends and my family a spot on my table because maybe they need a moment to not feel like themselves, or deal with a hypothetical problem that may lead to a real-world solution, or even just have some fun. DEGENESIS is my favorite game to tell and play, period. I discovered the Sacrifice Everything trailer in 2017, and immediately started saving money to buy a REBIRTH edition. I joined a Facebook group, a French Facebook group, and made a fool of myself for being a fanboy. Over and over, and I'll do it again. Catharsis is an excellent rule set. It's simple to explain the actual skill and attributes of a character, ensure that a player isn't locked into illiteracy because they wanted to play a barbarian. The choice of a character can be positively separated from the cult, a blacksmith ascetic, a tea master sort of Jahamid, a slimy sort of car salesman scrapper. The system and concept of combination roles gives the player and the GM so many more tools to work together to build a grounded story. I love that. It's brutal, and it makes you think. You have to live with your choices. It's part of the game. DEGENESIS is a magnum opus of tabletop role-playing game. Simple and unsurpassable in quality. It always puts my ability to storytell into question, at least to the test. I spend a lot of time trying to be a better storyteller than I was. I study physiology, astrology, climatology, astronomy, metallurgy, history, psychology, poetry. I learned so much from stuff just to make sure I tell stories better. There's so many other people who create fan work and stories, and it's awesome to see it when they do that. It inspires me. Back when I was having troubles, the things that got me through it were stories. Not necessarily storytelling, but tales of heroes and martyrs and myths and people who endured and suffered for a good reason, for a bad reason, maybe no reason at all. Uther and Arthur, Morgan Le Fay, Mulan, Joan d'Arc, Sigurd and Siegfried the Dragonslayer, Cuchulainn, Eowyn and Boromir, Atlanta, Hongahika, Achilles, so many more. Especially with the connections to mortality, I'll never forget them. There was a teacher of mine on Wednesdays who would take me to a plot of land in the mountains and in the woods where there'd be a cave, and we would build fires, practice martial arts, and just sit and talk. Watch the flames, telling stories about God, experiencing the stars, making stories. And I promised to him and to myself that I would not act upon the demons in my head. I got a sword for it, and it's a little materialistic, it's a physical thing, you know. I give out gifts with the same symbolism, hoping that it will mean what it meant to me. I try to give gifts, especially to those who deserve them or those who need them. I'm getting better at it. DEGENESIS is not a nice game. In the first pages, there's a part where it's a disclaimer that, yeah, this shit is fucked, and the world that is presented is painful in a realistic way. For some people, it's not what they want. For some people, it's entirely too much. Both of those are valid and okay. This work is not meant for everyone. This game will not spark joy or creativity with every individual. That's okay too. DEGENESIS readily and openly deals with, in the text, parental abandonment, questions of inhumanity, the despair of a possibly hopeless universe. Men and women who lose themselves to the easy destructive path, rather than the constructive, hard one. Sexual assault and abuse. The difficulties of resource scarcity and corruption, competition. Those who cannot be reasoned with while wielding terrifying power. Child abuse, people possibly being the worst they can to their fellow man. Yet each perpetrator, victim, bystander, and cog is human, for the most part. I absolutely understand why these overarching themes may not be what people want. I'm just here to tell you why it's important to me. It hurts when I read parts of this universe. If you've ever seen The Green Room, spoiler, it's a good film. Patrick Stewart as a neo-Nazi, where the Scooby Gang punk version, minus the dog, split up and look for clues. They die really fucking hard. Sometimes by the hands of other people their age who've been convinced that it's a good thing to stab another kid. That movie, that film, made me feel things, mostly anger, because I was their age when I watched it. I'm definitely a delinquent, and I'm not a big fan of fascists. If I was in that situation, I always imagined I could emerge unscathed, be good enough to do so, have the protagonist power, the hero power. No, I was unhappy and angry for weeks after watching that film. It made me feel, and I don't want to watch it again. But it's a good film. The world of DEGENESIS doesn't have to be played cruelly. As a storyteller, you don't need to elaborately describe assault, sexual assault, or abuse. That goes without saying, but definitely have a session 0 with your players. I'm not here to tell you how to make DEGENESIS more comfy, or less explicit, or just the right amount of gnarly. You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. Think about it for a long while, choose wisely. You can bend the rules for characters to be more punchy, take more hits while dishing it out like superheroes. You can ignore the mundane horror of apocalypse, of hunger, and people who've grown up in an area where generation after generation they've been in competition with their neighbor. You can ignore all the in-game events, and you can have your DEGENESIS game take place elsewhere in the world. I've heard of some pretty successful iterations of DEGENESIS like that. Successful in the sense that the players and the storyteller had fun. Ultimately, that's kind of what's important. That's not quite how the world of DEGENESIS would work, but take out of it what you want. I'm attracted to a lot of Stoic philosophy. Not necessarily the reining in of emotions, because that's definitely going very well for me. I'm extremely sentimental. DEGENESIS, through my eyes, has a lot of both. The importance of continuing on because you can, and because people have, real or not, it's what sustains me. Non fui, non sum, non curo. Most of the time. All the horrible crap in life, many want to escape using games, and, no pun intended, you can also find catharsis in the game. Maybe even a solution. Self-reflection. People are cruel, people suffer, and sometimes there's not a damn thing you can do about it. In turn, the little things you can do may mean the world to a stranger. It may make life all the more bearable to give someone else food, money, hope, faith, gifts. This game makes me think and it makes me feel. Spoiler. But I cried for Ifrit and Vettinger, for the tragedy of the world, for the defilers of Justitian, for Attila, for Hamza, for the story of Amaranth. For those children who don't get to live in a place where they get to be just kids. If I were in their shoes, I would not last a day. My mind would have collapsed long ago. Yet in the tragedy, there are small beauties that the game would have you acknowledge amidst the apocalypse. A gem requires polish, and this game gives the precedent for hard decisions. There's black and white, good and bad, but there's mountain ranges of gray, where whether you try your best, you're in it for the reward, whether you're a psychopath or a do-gooder, whether your intentions are pure, you're not always going to be lawful good, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to fail. There's the importance of choosing to do something, and then being able to live with that decision. I haven't found another system so rooted in the human condition that encourages it so fully. I suppose I shouldn't stop looking for it either. I personally get a lot of joy out of misery. Burning of muscles, being soaked in the rain, some asshole I get to complain about. Bruises from sparring. Because all of those events make everything thereafter just a little bit sweeter. A lot of life just is. And I'm here for it. I love and need DEGENESIS because it's hard. It makes me think and it makes me feel. I get creative when I read something over, or I find something new. I look up a word, I don't know what it means, and I go down a rabbit hole of astrophysics. I get to see so many others get joy from the story and create themselves, all of which is made with passion everywhere. It's not easy, it's not quick, but it's fucking rad. I'm not saying DEGENESIS is superior or good, because it's a hardcore tabletop role-playing game where it does apocalyptic setting better than insert example here. That's a matter of opinion. I'm just saying that DEGENESIS is fun. At least for me, it's good. I find comfort in gazing at celestial bodies, daydreaming while staring into the flames, recounting something that my brain latched onto, and using it to make others laugh, cry, smile, and grin defiantly against entropy. Sometimes I'm the elder. I tell stories, I relish them, and it makes life much more tolerable. So after some 4 years and X amount of months playing DEGENESIS all the way through, and getting it right maybe 8 months ago, my body gives DEGENESIS a 2 out of 5, because I keep losing sleep and just being giddy. My mind gives me an 11 out of 10, because I learned so much by reading this fiction, and I've never found myself bored. And my soul gives it a solid yes, because I think I'm a better person for finding that video while procrastinating on a sociology paper some years ago. I've got to meet and work with so many wonderful, smart people along the way. It's awesome. Meteor. You've conquered every day you've come across so far, and you endured it to the best of your ability. Cheers to that. Vodka's really good. This has been the Pale Bird. I hope you have an amazing, incredible, excellent day. Peace.